Hail and Meshes Kingdom. I guess you like these shiny things in Passive Excel too, and you want your stash tabs to look like this. Yeah, greed is good, my friends. Today I will test farming strategy. If you like this type of videos, make sure to drop a like and leave a comment, and I will share even more crazier strategies. But let's start things simple. For today I will test early league trials of chaos farming. First of all, to understand how viable this strategy, we want to find out how much we can earn compared to basic farming. So let me reset my counter, and we will try to compare Trials of Chaos to basic blue tier 15 mapping, since it's pretty early strategy. And on the surface, mapping right now can feel a lot more viable. However, there's a lot of problems with mapping. Maybe your character can't survive loads of monsters, maybe you got some problems with this new Abyss mechanics, and when you're farming high tier maps, you just want a little bit more gear. On maps you're getting loads of different currency, also unique drops like precursor tablets, sometimes they can be sold for nice amounts. Of course, lots of unique mechanics, like for example Essence. Essence is also really viable because it will give you ability to craft your weapons, armors to your preference, and also you can sell them for nice profits if you're lucky, of course. You won't encounter any of these mechanics in Trials of Chaos, but you will need to fight bosses. Bosses on maps drops a lot more currency and a lot more weapons than in Trials of Chaos. And there's a lot higher chance to get divine orbs on maps, especially if you're running a bunch of my secret strategies. But let's see what we have after 1 hour of farming. Technically I got one divine orb, but it's more or less lucky. And since there's loads of new currency, I will convert it to exalted and chaos orb equivalent. At the same time, there's loads of gears that I will disenchant and get bunch of artificial orbs and also armor scrap to upgrade gear, and they also sell for quite a few exalts at the moment. Just a little bit of quality gear in your loot filter, you will be able to get loads of exalts per hour. Right now this armor scrap goes 1 for exalts, but just in a few weeks they will cost almost nothing, so that's really important thing to keep in mind. Before attempting farming strategy, try to estimate pricing of items you get from maps. I just dropping each one I got after 1 hour of farming, and I tried to ignore maps with high content density. Still I got few breaches, so we estimating prices for them too. It will be really hard to beat, because even uncut skill gems right now can go for 10 exalts. In the end I sold currency for 81 exalted orbs, which is 0.8 of divine right now. For the next 2 hours I will be playing Trials of Chaos, and we will see, can we beat 2 divines per hour. So let's teleport straight to Temple of Chaos and start farming. Overall, best part of this farming method is that there's almost no prerequisites. You just need to make sure your character is powerful enough to defeat bosses. But Chaos Trials bosses, while sometimes may be really difficult, in reality more or less tuned for every character to be able to defeat them, since it's Ascendancy Trials and developers kinda want you to actually beat these bosses, so you may get your passive skill points. First question you might have right now is, do you actually need all these tabs? Do you need to farm all of them? Well, no, you can actually buy them from trade market, and they most oftenly sold for 1 exalted right now. Gameplay loop is also pretty simple. You're going into the room with some kind of task. Most often there will be just killing all monsters or surviving a little bit of time. Then you're approaching next room, but you will need to pick one of the debuffs. There's only debuffs in these rooms, so there's no bonuses, but you will get one reward. They accumulate, and I'm not sure, but probably you can press on this button whenever you want and get out of these trials. So if you think RNG on penalties is bad for you right now, you can probably exit trials. But I never pressed on it, so sorry, I don't know what will happen. But I got bunch of tricks to help you survive and defeat all these rooms easier. But now let's discuss rooms. When you see a bunch of enemies on your minimap, this means it's clearing room. You need to clear it completely, defeat all enemies. Big monument in center of the room, you just touch it and you will have 1 minute and 30 seconds to survive. Rooms are basically RNG, so you don't know what room will be next. Probably sometimes they're kinda tied to different tokens, because there's different types of tokens and each of them will give you different type of fragment. More on that later. Another room you may encounter is a room with altars. It's pretty tricky if you picked bad bonuses. I will show you a run with picking only bad bonuses, and it will be awful experience. Basically in this room you need to find Val part and then get back quickly to altars and then put the stone into altar. It takes bunch of time, so if you're like unlucky, you can get hit at this time. This will break animation and you will be forced to press the stone again. So it's not a problem, yeah? Well, no, because after picking Val core, you will have limited time and after a few seconds you will start losing your energy shield and health constantly just by running or standing still. So you need to do it as fast as possible. Overall, this map is most annoying. Right now I'm playing pretty base setup and I'm just running into 3 corners and then getting these cores. But sometimes there's like little puzzle you need to solve and this room takes most of the time from the run. Another room that may take time is this one. Basically, you need to escape this statue. You need to stay close in the range of this blue bubble and it will slowly go towards end. And also there is kinda a ritual room. There will be 3 big circles, you need to come to each of them, and by standing inside and killing monsters, you will feel blood on the main altar in the middle of the room, and it will be ended. So this room may take a little bit of time, but it's super easy, straightforward, and that's one of my favorite and easiest room you may encounter, beside basically a room. When you transition through the rooms, every 3 rooms you will find a well to replenish your flasks, and also you will have soul core reward for these types of rooms. Well, that's because it's boss rooms. Yeah, there's 3 bosses you need to defeat on your way, and boss is always the same, but they may be in different order. One of them is Uxmal, who protected entrance to Trials of Chaos, a big flying bird that got most annoying moveset that can actually punish you a lot. And pretty easy dragon bird, I don't know even what this boss is doing, is pretty easy. After defeating last boss you will get Victorious Fate, and that's one of the most important rewards for us, and it's guaranteed. There's actually 3 different fates, there's Victorious, Cowardly and Deadly, but it doesn't matter too much, because in 0.3 they changed, previously they was randomized, but right now we know exactly what fate we will get, so they kinda similar price on market. And after interacting with last monument we will get all our rewards. So that's where it's get kinda tricky. We're getting a bunch of equipment, but all of this equipment will be corrupted and not very good, so most of the time you can't actually sell this equipment. In case you are curious, Victorious Fate and other parts is used over here at the end of the trial to drop it into gate and access Trial Master. In this video I will also show this fight, but you don't need to be powerful enough to defeat this pinnacle boss. Now I will make a run and explain decision making, so you will have more chances to defeat these trials. But don't worry, it will be a brief one. If you want, I can make Trials of Chaos guide, how to defeat every boss, how to evade their attacks, their movesets, with a lot more tricks how to do it faster. Then just drop a comment, and if there's enough of comments, I will definitely make it as soon as possible. So, room number 1. Lightning Runes is just most safest pick you can get in Trials of Chaos. A reduced recovery is fine, but can be tricky in some situations or for some characters. For example, Lich, who really relies on mana regeneration. Stalking Sheet is fine, but it's really annoying to keep moving all 10 rooms. For the first room I picked the safest bet and got Stormcaller runes. Again, it's safest pick because sometimes you won't even find one rune on this entire map. For next room I could pick Escalating Damage, and it's super safe mode because most rooms won't take you loads of time to complete, or by the end you won't be actually overwhelmed a lot. Resistant monsters is also nice if you got some penetration or your character is powerful enough. Therefore I went with Blood Globules. If you separate them, and this will be only annoying thing in this trial, it's super easy to play around. You just run, they will stop and you will get away. Sometimes you can just wait a little bit and then just roll out of their presence, and again it's pretty easy to play around. They spawn every like 10 or 15 seconds and that's it. Also they're not doing a lot of damage, so it's pretty safe bet. But in combinations with other debuffs we can create deadly combinations that will almost instantly defeat us. And that was the goal for this run, show you like crazy combination when RNG not on your side. And RNG is pretty straightforward, you may even get choices that you got earlier, but some choices can be upgraded. For example, these runes that I took in room number 1 can be upgraded to Stormcaller runes number 2, and that's actually something you want to avoid as much as possible in most cases. While first level of lightning runes is barely noticeable, lightning level 2 is actually pretty damn crazy. Sometimes some time, because they will cover a larger area and deal a lot more damage. Same goes almost for every choice. You can have like plus 200% to monster critical hit chance, which is kinda okay, but level 2 of this debuff will be a monster always will deal critical hits, which is really crazy. Here's the choices for the next room, and one of them is pretty bad. Monsters won't give you flask charges. It's pretty awful because you won't be able to replenish your health and mana in some cases. But I picked Grasping Vines. While again, if you separate this debuff, it's pretty okay-ish. Monsters sometimes will hit you and you will be slower. However, when it combined with other crazy abilities, you will be in very bad situations. For example, right now I'm near the altar and I can be slowed, overwhelmed by these monsters and actually be drained to death from Vaal orb that is on my back right now. But it's pretty hard to make something really bad in first few rooms. And the rule to not take crazy debuffs kinda falls off when you go into the later stages. Again, you don't want to deal with this crazy stuff in the early stages and throughout all trials, but you can definitely take it on the last boss. Funnily enough, even when you try to make something awful, sometimes RNG is on your side. And this run was actually pretty fine. So next run I decided to start Awfully Painful, Impending Doom. That's pretty crazy debuff. Every now and then the Ring of Doom will start to grow, and there's two ways how you can avoid them. You can stand in the middle, it's a safe area, or you can stand outside. However, as you can see right now, area is pretty small, so standing outside is not an option, it will cover all area. On the next room I even was offered with upgrade to make this Doom even more deadly, but I decided to torture myself with Pyramid Beams. It will create structure somewhere on the map and it will just shoot beams and will rotate. Again, if you isolate this, it's pretty okay-ish debuff. But look, now I will need to constantly move around, while at the same time I need to evade these Doom rings. So map with stone altars will become really painful. Just look, with these debuffs combined I need to time perfectly when I put stones on the altar, and I constantly got health drained. At the same time these Doom rings can explode outside of the screen and I even can't notice them. And if I panic and sprint, I can fall down and it's a real pain. Still, it's manageable, but we need to play slow and smart. Sometimes this Doom ring will grow, so I'm taking my Vaal Soul Core and I will stand here and wait, because if I take elevator right now, I will be stuck on elevator and probably I will be destroyed with this Ring of Doom if I don't have enough protection. Pretty crazy, yeah? Well, not as crazy as taking monster speed debuff. Well, technically it's not debuff for monsters, it's debuff for you, because monsters will have more skill speed, and funnily enough, it also works on bosses. Honestly, with this combination you just need to pray you got enough power to just melt bosses as fast as possible. On one of the next rooms I decided to take deadly monsters to give them more critical hit chance with their new fast attack speed, but still most craziest part is this Rings of Doom. We need to be extra careful not to fall when they trying to defeat us. And again, this spinner in the middle of the screen is driving me crazy. Basically, with combinations like this, even basic rooms can become insanely deadly and annoying. Just look at this this painful chamber, basically. Oh my goodness, it's a big ring, so I can get outside. I need to constantly roll out of this valve mechanism. And I constantly ambushed by these crazy fast skill speed monsters with insane area of effect attacks. I survived, but we got a problem. I got no flasks left. So, next room will be completely brutal, right? Well, no. Here's the trick how to survive this crazy RNG stuff when RNG is not on your side. Basically, you want to teleport before you pick your penalty on this statue. So, you will be teleported into Ziggurat encampment, and you will be able to replenish your flasks near the well. Previously this ability was blocked, but right now it's available. Here's another trick for escorting missions when you got bad RNG. Basically you want to run forward and clear monsters first. There could be loads of elites, and when they stack up, it's bad for you, of course. But after you cleared every monster, you will have more save time when you're escorting this statue. Okay, I farmed these trials for 2 hours. Now let's see our rewards. Interesting part, I would say, that there's loads of Chaos Orbs and loads of Val Orbs dropping over here right now. And at the moment they're pretty much valuable. That's what we got in the end from Trials of Chaos. Let's compare it to what we got from 1 hour of mapping. Overall we got 2 times more Chaos Orbs and 2 times more Val Orbs per hour, but less Exalted Orbs. Still, Exalts are not that valuable. Of course, there's a chance to drop Socket Currency or even Divine Orbs, but in my opinion it's a lot less common in Trials of Chaos. So just in Val Orbs and Chaos Orbs we got almost 50 Exalt. Also I would say I was lucky, but still we got Greater Exalted Orb, which also goes for around 12 Exalt. But currency is only beginning. The juicy part is of course our fragments to enter boss fight. So let's just sell all of them and they will go for 60 more exalts, as well as most of the runes will go for 1 or 2 exalts. This actually nerfed Trials of Chaos farm a lot compared to previous season. There's so many rune options and most of them actually toned down and nerfed. And there's a lot more different socketables that you can get on the maps that basically these runes cost almost nothing. But here's some notables. I got 2 soul cores that I want to try on my weapon right now, and they are around 10 exalts together, but also I got 2 soul cores of Takati, which gives poison on hit or chaos resistance on armor. These 2 guys will go for 23 exalts right now, so they are pretty valuable, but I want to use one on my gloves for now. So now my resistance are fixed finally. Got 70+% everywhere. But anyway, this video is not about my resists, it's about our exalts and profits, which on paper will give us 135 divine per hour, which is less than we got on maps. So let's fight Pinnacle Boss, Trial Master, and discuss how viable this strategy is and when you should go for it. First of all, you need to make sure you're actually able to defeat these trials pretty fast. I was able to defeat these trials basically like 3.5 times per hour. Technically in 2 hours I ran 7 trials. But in situation when you don't have a really good armor for maps to survive them, and you got enough power to defeat bosses in Trials of Chaos, that's actually a pretty viable strategy, and this is stable strategy that will give you stable Exalted Orb income. And that's really important to understand, that you're getting Exalted Orbs, while Chaos Orbs and Divine Orbs is most valuable currency. Chaos Orbs that drops more often in Trials of Chaos is really good, because they will keep their value for longer. But Exalted Orbs is a problem, because again, it took me 2 hours to farm Trials of Chaos, and Divine is already at 120. Therefore, as always, check prices on the market before attempting any strategy. But I decided to take a risk and sold unique gloves for 2 divine. Grit is good, guys. Make sure to drop a like for this video if you're enjoying format, and more and better strategies will come soon.